Good afternoon. This is Dr. Norma Thomas, and I am the curator of the African American History and Cultural Center in Fayette County, Pennsylvania, located at 355 Connellsville Street, Uniontown, Pennsylvania. This PowerPoint precedes an interview that we conducted with Mrs. Joan Tracy on November 10th, 2024. And this is the second in a series of interviews that we have done with our esteemed community elders. And you will see from this interview why we consider Mrs. Tracy one of our esteemed community elders. Unfortunately, the video, while we were doing it, cut off a couple of times. So it's not as smooth as we would like, but we hope you do enjoy listening to Mrs. Tracy talk about her life and experiences. And also, at one point, we do sing happy birthday to her because this was conducted near her birthday. So if you would like to know more about the African American History and Cultural Center, you can contact me at one of two emails, normathomas13@gmail.com, or Storyjoy Incorporated, that's STORYJOYINC @gmail.com. You can also call 215-880-4718. And we have a Facebook page, which is under African American History and Cultural Center, Fayette County. So if you'd like to join us, please put in a request and we'll be sure to get information to you. We will be sending out our year one newsletter very shortly, so we would like to include you in that group. So sit back, enjoy this interview, and again, we will be conducting additional interviews with our esteemed community elders in the near future. Thank you, and we hope to hear from you soon. And it should be recording. So as I said, we are going to do our interview with Miss Joan, give her a chance to tell her story. I had started by saying a little bit about what I knew about her, and we'll add that to the video later. But right now, I guess I want to ask the leading question. What was life growing up in Uniontown, PA when you were younger? What can you tell us about life then, and then we'll ask some more questions.
Well, I was a little bit older because I wasn't always in the city of Uniontown. I was born and raised in Lindale Terrace. That's outside of Grindstone. But we used to come to Uniontown was our big city. Brownsville was next. So I've lived in Fayette County all my life. All but 1 year I went to Washington, D.C. and went to school in 8th grade. Other than that, I've been here all my life. It was different when I went to school here. They didn't call this, being racist or anything like that. But there was a place for us, and we knew our place. I can remember living in Oriat, a little coal mining town. And we had to walk to school. We didn't have no buses. We walked about 3 miles to school.
And you had to go. Don't believe that when you tell them we walked in the snow.
Yes, we did.
They were lying, yeah.
No, we wasn't lying. The snow was so high until I could walk through it, and it was on both sides of me. I just had a path to go through, but we had to walk. And we survived it though. Today, it would never happen because now they have buses, and I was kind of shocked when I saw all the buses. But things have changed. And I can't always say that they changed for the better. We had to fight for everything we got. you know, we had to make gardens. Some raised chickens and raised hogs. They used to butcher. So it was a lot different. We couldn't go to the store. We didn't have money to go to the stores and buy stuff like they do now. So you all have it easy. In a way, you have it easy. But it's always been because I was black, I always knew where to go and what to do. That's how I survived. And I've always loved people. So my mouth was always going. I was always talking to everybody. I didn't care whether you was black, blue, green, or purple. I talked to everybody because I like to ask questions. My mother passed away when I was 6 years old. So I wasn't raised with a mother. And then I had a housekeeper when I was younger. So Miss Maggie, I'll never forget her. And so it was kind of rough growing up because my dad didn't know what to do with us girls. So what else did you want to know?
How many of you were there?
There was 4 girls and 1 boy in our family. And they're all gone but me. I was the middle child. And I'm still here. So I figured that God left me here for a reason. Because I can remember Eddie asking me one time, "Why are they always calling you?" I said, "Because I can always be found." Because I was always around somewhere. I used to go, and but I remember when I came to the first thing that I belonged to when I came to Uniontown was the PTA. And we used to go, me and this lady used to go up in the mountains to visit, and I didn't have sense enough to be afraid. I just went with her. Nobody ever bothered us. But we would ride around to different places and see how they were doing in different parts of the school district. And then we came to, I forgot. What else is there for me to talk about?
Well, you said, I want to go back to something you mentioned, that being black in Uniontown, in the area, you knew where to go and not where to go. So where to go and not where to go, what did that mean?
What does that mean?
Yeah.
That means that you didn't go downtown and think that you were going to sit in the drugstore because you couldn't do that.
So that was G.C. Murphy? Was that Murphy's?
No, that was across the street. I can't remember the drugstore. G.C. Murphy's, you could not sit.
I know that one.
You could not sit there. I can remember that with one of my children, I was pregnant and I passed out in the drugstore, and they brought me some water in a paper cup. We couldn't drink out of their glasses, and I had to leave there. But you just accepted it, whatever they wanted you to do to a point. And if you didn't like it, you didn't have to go back anymore. So that's the way it was during my time.
So you couldn't go to the movie theater, right? Except to sit up in the balcony?
You had to go in the balcony. And I can remember in Republic, we were going to challenge them. And we were going to sit downstairs. They politely came and told us we had to move. Wasn't hardly anybody downstairs. We had to move and go upstairs.
What year was that? When was that? What
Was it a better view anyway in the balcony?
Do you remember the years? When was that?
No. That was in the 50s.
50s?
It was in the
Because
50s.
I got here in the late 50s and I went to the high school.
Yeah. It was in the 50s.
Wow.
But you know, that's a humbling experience when you're not liked because you're a little bit darker than other people. It's not that you don't have the intelligence, because they're not going to let you use your intelligence. And that's the way it was.
Yeah, I know that there were, by the time I came around, there were still things we did and did not do. Like the skating rink was only certain days
Right.
of the week that we would go out to the skating rink. The swimming pool at Shady Grove, you didn't go until after the season when they stopped cleaning the pool. And I thought that was a story that was in my head, except it's in a book called Caste Systems. So they talked about Shady Grove in particular. And South Park at one time was segregated. Those things were real.
Yeah, they were real. I can remember when they were desegregating the drugstores and
Thrift drug.
was it thrift?
Thrift drug.
Okay, thrift drug and the 5 and 10. They had sit-ins down there. Dr. Vaughn and Mrs. Vaughn were very instrumental in opening up things to us here in Fayette County. I can remember Dr. Vaughn and Mrs. Vaughn, because she was so fair, they went into a restaurant and he had her sit facing the door and he sat in the other seat. And that's how we got to how we started to, that enabled us to be able to go into the restaurants. Even in Washington, D.C., they were just as segregated there. And when I was living down there, when it was desegregated down there, and I went into one of the stores and I was afraid to sit down because I was young and I didn't know if they would accept me, and I could have did anything I wanted to do. I visited Kentucky and the same thing, but they knew where I was from because I talked differently than them. And I want to tell you this too. I used to ride the bus from Orient to D.C. and there was a restaurant. There was a restaurant there, and they had, when we stopped, it was one door had white only, and you had to go. If you went in that door, you were asked to leave if you got in the door. It was something. I remember we were driving down in towards D.C. and our car broke down. There was a gas station open, and he was afraid to help us. He finally ended up helping us, but he was afraid because it was so segregated down there. So I lived through all that segregation. It was bad. Now that I think back on it, it was bad. At that time, we just accepted it. You just did what you had to do. I was always a loner, so most of the things I did by myself. I was traveling to Orient and to D.C. when I was about 11 or 12 years old by myself. I could get on the bus because I wasn't raised without a mother, so I didn't know what I could do and what I couldn't do. And my dad, if you ask him, he just gave me the money to go and do what I wanted to do. I wore some of the best clothes because he was a coal miner, and we had the company store down at, oh shucks, I can't remember. It was here in Uniontown. He would just give me a certificate, and I'd just go down there and buy what I wanted to buy. So I had a little easier than a lot of people did.
So what made you get involved in, you talked about getting involved in the PTA and going around. What made you get involved in community activities, community service?
You know
How'd
what?
you get spurred to do that?
I don't know, because it's just I've always liked people, and I've always loved children. I wouldn't have had 12 children if I didn't love children. I would have got rid of some of them. But I mean,
Y'all happy to be here? Y'all happy to be here?
yeah. I wouldn't have, and all these grandchildren. And I still like to be involved with my children and my grandchildren. But I got involved in, the first thing I got involved in here was the PTA. It might have been something else, and I just don't remember. But then I was working at Wright's Restaurant, and they were talking about East End. So I said, let me go up here and see what's going on at East End. And when they started talking about volunteering and things like that, I wanted to get involved because I wanted to help black people if I could. And I ended up being chosen as chairman of the board. And I said, I don't know if I can do that. And Marcia said, you can do it, Mom. Because I didn't know. I'd never done anything like that. So I went up there, and I was chairman of the board, and we were open for quite some time, but we just couldn't get a toehold in there because it was a big old school and took a lot of money to run it.
So that's when they decommissioned the elementary school, and it became the community center? Yeah.
Right, that's what it was. And then, so we moved down into what they call the Blue House, which for $1, they gave it to us for $1. And I always thought about having a new community center. It was in my mind, but I didn't know how to get started with that. So I started while I was still at the community center in the old school, I started the Peoples for Progress. And that we were getting people jobs, getting black people jobs. So we got quite a few people jobs. I was the first black, I think I was the first black person that looked like a black person in the Fayette County Courthouse. I worked there. And when I worked there, I guess I'm jumping around, but when I worked there, there was an opening that came up to be an assessor. That meant you had to go out and knock on doors, measure people's houses. You had to do all that. And when I told my boss I wanted I wanted the job, sweat poured out on me. He said, because I was a little bit older, but they paid more money, and I wanted to make more money. So I had up in Bullskin, I had up in the mountains, and there was nobody my color up there. But I gained their respect. When I would go to their houses, I would smile and talk to them, and nobody ever bothered me. So it wasn't too bad. But I was talking about the People for Progress. So we did start that, and then I turned it over to the preachers, and the preachers didn't do nothing with it. But I just feel good that I was able to help some people. If they was having trouble on their jobs, if they come to me, I would call their boss and tell them, this is Joan from People for Progress, they were okay. They hired them and they treated them right because they knew somebody was going to be there watching them. And then I went back to, I worked up at the health center for a couple of years. And I went back to school because I didn't have a degree. And I wanted to have a degree. I said, how can I keep telling my children and grandchildren to go to college and I don't have a degree? I went. Took me 10 years to get my bachelor's degree because I got my associate's first and then I kept going and I got my bachelor's. I had dreams of going further, but my brain got tired. So I kind of quit that.
So how old were you when you got your associates and then when you got your bachelor's?
I was, what was I? Marcia, how old was I?
In your 50s.
Huh?
You were in your 50s.
You was in
Yeah.
your 50s because I was 12, almost a teenager. I lived there. I lived through those times when they did
Yeah.
that. It was me and my brothers and Patrick and Sean, Janine, Tasha. There was Jennifer. That was the time you was making microwave meals on paper plates, covering them with saran wrap, and putting them in a deep freezer. Pap, you remember there was some rough days eating because Grandma could cook. But, you know what I mean? She did the leftover joints and we ate them. But she would come home, do her studying, and she was definitely in her 50s. Because I'm 47 and this was 30 years ago.
Someone says you were never too old.
No, you're not.
Inspiration to us all.
You're spoiled. That's how everybody lives now.
We were so mad when we got them homemade TV dinners, boy. But we would take them right now. I went up last night and grabbed a lot. And I mean a lot.
Yes. But, yeah, I was old. No, you're never too old. Get your degree. Go back to school. Because you're not going to get a decent job without some kind of piece of paper. It may not be in what you graduate in, but as long as you got it, they know that you can be dependent on. That has a lot to do with it.
She got her bachelor's degree.
How?
So she got hers at 53.
Yeah, I was something like that. I was either 49, started at 49 and finished at 50 or something like that. I was old, but I got it. So you can't say you can't get it because you can.
Yeah, I didn't know you started People for Progress. I've
Yeah.
read a few things, but I had no idea that you were the one that started People for Progress.
That was there might have been one before that too. But the one I started was just to get people jobs. And that was down to Easton School. Yeah. So that gained us some respect. I think a lot of the white people realized that all of us wasn't stupid and didn't know anything. Some of us were smart enough to realize that we were not being treated right, and they had these job openings, and why couldn't we get them? So that's what we did with that. And I've never been afraid to really talk to people. If I wanted something, I'd ask for it. If they didn't give it to me, they just didn't give it to me. I bought a house. I bought a house without any money and without an education, and I'm still in that house. So it can be done. It can be done.
So you're an inspiration for folks who are right now concerned that we might be getting ready to live through difficult times. You could tell us all how to do that.
You know what? Never lose your faith, because God will see you through. He will certainly see you through. I've never preached, never wanted to be. I've never been called to preach. I'm not going to say I didn't want to be, but I've never been called. but I still have never lost my faith. And I have prayed. I prayed a lot. Raising 12 children, you pray a lot. Not only did I raise 12 children, I raised a whole lot of other children.
In the family.
Yes, yes. So it's if I can inspire some of the, welfare. Some of the girls are getting welfare. That's for you when you need some help. But you should get a job, get an education. It can be done. You can work. Get a job. You want your children to be better? Teach them to be better. Let them see that you're doing something with your life. And that will encourage them to want to do something with their life. So these are, it's a trickle-down effect. What you do, most of the time, some of the kids are going to do it. Maybe not all of them, but they know they've been taught. I've always taken my children to Sunday school. And, I was always involved in the church. And I've still found time to do other things in the community. At night, maybe when everybody else was asleep, I was thinking, what can I do to help somebody else? And I did. A lot of times I did. And I've had people that have watched me, and I didn't know they were watching me, going and doing the things that I do, because when God gives it to you, He gives it to you if you want it. He doesn't force you to take anything. But He gave me the wisdom to do a lot of things, and I've tried to be obedient to that.
And we have watched you. Birthday, happy birthday, happy birthday to you.
And I thank you. I have had a happy birthday for double H's.
Yep.
88.
I have a question.
Yes.
As you were talking earlier for your dad, you said that he had a hard time telling about where he came from, North Carolina or South Carolina.
South Carolina.
Would you be able to tell any incidences that he actually did tell you about what?
He wouldn't tell us
He wouldn't tell
anything.
anything.
No.
So the past.
I knew he had a large family, but he didn't talk about them. He said, I left them people down there, just leave them there. Now, why he felt like that, I don't know. Because he was in the service. He was in the Army.
Wow.
And I don't know what happened. He never told us. And by the time I got old enough to really pressure him and to tell him these something, I had a family of my own, and I didn't think about it.
Yeah.
We were never allowed to be around adults when they were discussing things. So a lot of things the kids know now, we didn't. We had to sneak and hear if it was something, but we were not allowed to be close and listen to them. So that's why we don't know a lot about, some of us don't know a lot about our ancestors and things like that.
And that's one of the things that we're engaged in, doing that ancestor research. Because as I said, that's how this whole thing began, with us doing research on our family. And then you touch other people's families, and you realize there's so much history. But I had mentioned that my great aunt, Doris Rubottom, turns out we knew she was a singer, we knew she acted, but we didn't know her history. She was really famous. And once you put stuff out in the air, people will send you stuff. And we have found so much information that my daughter and I have decided we're writing a book on this woman that we just knew as Ann Doris. and that she sang. You know, but there, and she's from Connersville, so just incredible history. But you're right, a lot of people didn't talk about their history, especially folks who came from the South.
Because I know my father-in-law, Mr. Jones, because I've been into Ancestry a while, and I always wanted to ask questions, and he, like you say, would not talk about it. And we went to Myrtle Beach on our honeymoon. He didn't want us to go. You know, and that was in the late 70s when I got married, but he didn't even want us to go down there then. You know, he even